What's up, everybody? This is Henry Fleischer here with the Cannabis Dispatch, also the CBD Business Networking group on Facebook. And I have a very special guest today. I have Bill Shaub of Exurbia Consulting. So, Bill, tell us a little bit more about Exurbia Consulting.
Exurbia Consulting was started about a year ago with my wife and myself. I had an interesting journey into the CBD hemp space and decided to help others the way others helped me, really, when I started in the hemp space. And it's kind of developed into, it's grown many different arms over the last 2 years. So we help farmers develop business plans. We help regular businesses develop business plans. It just wasn't designed around hemp, but that's kind of where it's gone with growing and selling and all the steps that are involved with the hemp grow and the CBD space.
Oh, so it's kind of like you've evolved into like now you're looking at specializing in hemp more so than other businesses.
Yes, it's turned more into a hemp-based business. We work with small businesses. My wife and I have experienced, I actually worked with a big corporation for about 17 years and learned a lot and was able to start sharing it with small businesses. And we do small businesses and farms and hemp grows.
Yeah. What was that like breaking point for you? It's like, hey, I want to jump out of corporate and do my own thing. What was that aha moment?
The aha moment was both of my children are at high school age right now. It was either I stayed with the company or I moved to a different part of the United States, and it was time to put family first. We moved 5 or 6 times for the company I was with, and it was that time to put family first. And I accidentally fell into the hemp space, but the consulting space happened pretty much as soon as I ended up not working for corporate America anymore. So
yeah, got it. On the consulting side, when you're working with hemp businesses, how does that work? Is it like, do you tell them like, hey, you should buy this equipment? Is it like, hey, you should be running your operations like this? Is that your main objective with the work at the companies?
So my first introduction with every hemp company or any business is, hey, do you really want to do this? Do you understand what's all involved? And really, I have like a 30-minute consultation to get to know you, you get to know me, ask any questions you want. And after that 30-minute conversation, we either schedule another call and then we start getting into what you want to do. So if you want to grow, if you want to process, if you want to find certain products and you're going to open up a CBD store or start entering that space, how you want to enter that space is kind of how every single consultation is built. It's definitely not a cookie cutter, one size fits all kind of scenario.
Oh, so you're more like a guide to get them to that next step. Or it's like they tell you, like, for example, somebody's like, hey, I want to open up a CBD store. And then you give them a guide on how to do it and what to do.
Yeah. We definitely partner there. From the farming side, I mean, we go all the way down to nutrient strains, soil tests, different kind of what you want your goal to be. Are you going to grow industrially? What is your end result? What's your end goal? And then we build a plan based on that. So that's the really kind of cool part about what I do right now is repetition and doing the same thing over and over and over again is definitely not something I like to do. I like change and I like to work in different scenarios and been able to work with some pretty cool people and help grow some businesses and farms.
Oh yeah, that's awesome to hear. Especially too, it looks like hemp has endless possibilities because you can use that material for so many things.
It definitely. I am my personal background. I really didn't understand hemp at all until about 2.5 years ago, and then we had a local investment group that had a hemp grow, and I coach high school sports too. So I went out there with some kids to help supervise and help them make some summer money working out on a farm. And the group found out what my background was and kind of dove in head first. I mean, literally crawling on my knees, helping straighten up poor little plants that got smashed to, harvesting and seeing it processed and come to an end result. So It was one of those things where, you know, you hear love at first sight. It was one of those like, holy cow, I really enjoy this. I could see where it's going.
Oh, got it. Yeah, what was the toughest thing you went through when you first opened up?
Oh gosh. The hardest thing at first was understanding me personally. Are we talking hemp space or are we just talking consulting in general?
Oh, either one. Hemp.
We'll start with hemp was really, I've always been in a very fixed marketplace. When I was in corporate America, there were structures, there was guide, there was laws already created. And you start working with hemp and it's not a regular commodity yet. It's really kind of like the Wild West when it comes to processing and selling and building some of those relationships. So the guidelines are not there yet, and it's not a regular commodity yet. But outside of that, it's been that was probably the most challenging part with hemp. Like, hey, where's the rule? Oh, there is no rule written yet. So that part was an adjustment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got it. So I think, yeah, I mean, that's like everybody's been saying, because it's like a Wild West period. It's like it's all wide open, and you really got to figure it out yourself before you. That's the only way to figure it out. So you got to dive deep in and actually just take a bunch of action.
Yes, you literally have to get into it waist deep before you really can start to understand what's going on. I have a lot of friends, family, and even people that I've talked to that wanted to get into the space. And after our conversation, they're like, we're going to hold off for one more year to just see it stabilize a little bit. But overall, it's been a really cool experience that way. But just seeing everything kind of develop, you can't see it until you touch it. You can't really feel it.
Is there anything you would do differently if you had to do it all over again, knowing everything you know now?
Knowing what I know now, I would have done numerous things differently. Probably the very first thing I would do differently, though, is unfortunately for me, I've been on the good end of hemp and also the bad end of hemp. I had my first big contract grow last year, and about 2 weeks before harvest, the company went bankrupt and didn't purchase the hemp. So I had to figure out how to fund everything from there, and still in the process of working through a few things, but really blind faith and jumping into it. It's definitely not like corn and soybeans, to where you already have a commodity, you already have a marketplace, and just developing some of those relationships first prior to making a commitment like I did that first year would really be the first thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, got it. And what would you say is the toughest part about being in this business this year in 2021?
The 2021 would be, the 2021 would definitely be you as a farmer. So I have a consulting business, but I also farm hemp. So not only do I help people develop this, but I also experience everything they're going through, through drought, through weeds, through, addressing pests in the field. Really stepping back, I would say I would be more strategic with partnerships before I started my grow this year. And with that 2021 season, there was a lot of crops left over from 2019 that ended up selling throughout the season that really drove that price down, and understanding that marketplace a little bit better would have been beneficial to me as a farmer. So
got it. Makes sense. And another thing too, as well, is if a customer was to choose like between your business and 3 others just like yours, why did you suggest they give you a try first?
The experience piece. I am openly transparent, I guess I would say, in a way that has allowed me to build some awesome relationships, but I am also not there just to make a dollar. I have been in that world before, to where I do anything to beg, borrow, and steal to make a dollar. And right now, finances are always great, but it's not my driving motivator. It's really to see somebody succeed. So from the consulting perspective, that's how I look at it. From a farming perspective, I have years of farming experience behind me. I do not. I'm from Chicago in the city, so I don't have a bunch of farming experience, but the farmers I work with, the land I work with, everything is grown and focused on natural growth and not driving it with, pesticides and different kind of treatments. It's all naturally grown and naturally treated. So.
Got it. And what's the number one way you currently bring in new customers?
Here, say that again. You cut out a little bit. Sorry, Henry.
Oh, no, it's probably on my end, but I was going to ask you, like, what's the number one way you currently bring in new customers?
The number one way I bring in customers?
Yeah.
So for the consulting piece, it's really word of mouth is what has happened. I partnered with a few groups. USA Hemp Group is one in Central Illinois, Taylor Hemp Farms up in Northern Illinois, and individual groups throughout the country. I've been able to partner with them and help them spread my name a little bit on Facebook, not as much because Facebook is not a huge fan of hemp at times, but really it's just been word of mouth and meeting farmers out at different events and them saying, hey, would you mind helping me, or would you give me your perspective, and really just growing that relationship. A little old school.
Oh yeah, that seems like the best way for people in the hemp industry to make those connections is the old school way, just because of those restrictions at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know going to that, like, so what role has the internet played in your business becoming more prevalent?
The internet hasn't played a huge role in my business, just because I've partnered with a few organizations that have a groundwork built online. So Trinity Hemp is one that I partner with, and we promote each other's products. I work with a group out of Chicago, Illinois, just developed a great lotion that we're getting ready to launch a website on. It's all natural, it's vegan, it's everything, it's gluten-free. It's just unbelievable what they did, and created a massage lotion that's great for all aches and pains, and it's utilized with my product. So I'm bonded to it a little bit more than most. So I've been able to kind of grow that way through connections, marketplaces on Facebook, but a lot of it's really just been, hey, how can we work together to support each other, really? Because in the hemp space, it's a lot of places coming together to make something successful happen. So,
oh, of course. And if you had to take a look 6 months to a year in the future, where'd you like to see your business?
I would like to see my business to where I'm consulting between 12 and 15 farms regularly. I have a grow going on up north. I have 22 acres, so I'd love to see a successful harvest and a rollout of that product into the marketplace. I would love to see, I didn't know how live this was or what was going on, but I have this product, Canopia, that I would love to see this actually start reaching retail shelves. We're in conversations with a few different large retailers with the product right now. And just knowing that that product was developed utilizing something that I grew out of the ground is pretty cool. So I would love to see it grow in multiple ways, to tell you the truth, Henry.
Ah, got you. What would you say is the biggest challenge your business is facing at the moment?
At the moment right now is saturation. There's a lot of people trying to get into the space. And it's kind of like any marketplace where, if you get there first, you kind of get, that's what's in the customer's head, whether it's a high quality product or not. In my opinion, I'm very picky with ingredients. I'm very picky with who I work with to develop products, just because of the way that I grew up. and I want to see it affordable for everybody to use, because really this plant is there to help people get better. And as long as it's affordable to where you can cover your costs and get everything going in 6 months to a year, I would love to see that saturation kind of die down and start seeing those quality products rise to the top. And that's what I would like to see.
Yeah. So yeah, I know that kind of leading to the next question. If the saturation were to die down, where do you think your business would be?
My business would grow 70% easily if that saturation's step back. So, and the reason I say 70%, it's not some number that I just made up. At the growth trend we're at now with the flower that I have available, with biomass, different products like that from a farmer perspective, if that saturation actually cut down about 25 to 35%, it would allow me to double what is happening in my own home to be able to get those products out there. So I've moved about 35% of what I have already. And a lot of it was, hey, we can get this really cheap because this farmer got into it for 1 year and they just want to try to get some pennies on a dollar. And that's kind of where a lot of people in the hemp space are that I've spoke to right now, that are, they just want to get out of it. They didn't realize the labor that went into hemp, the hours that you put in, and that kind of deterred some people from getting those licenses. I was reading something this morning that licenses or acreage is down like 58%, I think, for people that signed up already for licenses this year. So that would allow me to grow.
Oh, that makes sense. So I know one thing too, because you're mentioning about the saturation too, even like somebody who's like wants to start their own brand of oils and stuff like that. I'm not saying everybody, but there's some people who bypass the process of like getting the COAs and everything else needed to make sure it's a high quality product. So I think that's another big issue in the industry as well. So another question I have for you too is, what's the biggest challenge when you're moving your harvested products? Like, what's the challenges of finding the right buyer?
The challenges of finding the right buyer really are, did you grow what they need? So every processor that I've talked to likes everything a little bit different. I don't know how versed you are. It sounds like you know your way around hemp a little bit, but as you're going through, do they want the product milled? Do they want it bucked? Do they want it hang dry? Do they want it shipped to them in a refrigerated truck? It's really just depends on what that customer wants, and each lab that I've worked with likes it a little bit different. And you can't take a 5, 10, 30, 40, 50 acre field and split it up and do each little section each way that somebody wants to do. So like my original contract that unfortunately they closed prior to honoring that contract, they wanted everything hang dried and bucked. They wanted it as natural as possible. So no propane heaters, I had to find an open barn to get it to dry and get the airflow to work through that barn for them with the way that they wanted it dried, because they wanted to be able to say it was all naturally dry. And I think that's a beautiful thing, but each processor, each company may want something just a little bit different, and that makes it a little challenging at times.
Oh, I guess too, because assuming based off those needs, then you have to hire different transportation companies depending on how they want it transported and everything.
Yes, I will say there's a few companies out there that are very hemp friendly that I've enjoyed working with so far. So if you're shipping big quantities, I've used a company called Trafix. They're great. They've shipped all over the US for me. So they've done a good job, and I haven't had any problems with them. You start getting into like UPS, I've had packages seized, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, that's common, especially Delta 8 products.
Delta 8, well, Delta 8 or flour, just flour in general. I had one package seized for 5 weeks going, and it had all the proper paperwork in it, all documentation, everybody was covered, everything was legal, but the smell made them freeze it. And
Yeah.
the customer finally got it about 6 weeks after they ordered it. But
Yeah, that's definitely a big issue too in the industry, is finding the right transportation company.
yes,
It's better off going on a private company that specializes in the industry as opposed to like your standard USPS and UPS.
at times, UPS has treated me pretty well. And UPS, they're the United States Postal Service. I've had hang-ups with all the three big ones, of course. Yeah. But I mean, once you find that private way to ship, it makes life a lot easier.
No, I think I'm assuming too you form a relationship too with whoever's the head in charge of that private transportation company.
Yeah,
too.
I do. Well, I mean, honestly, I'm very lucky. It's actually my brother. So if it didn't go through, I could give him a hard time. But it was just one of those things where he's the head of that department. And I gave him a call and said, hey, is this stuff that you can do? And he said, yeah, we definitely can. And it's made my life. Unfortunately, I learned it about a year too late, but finally connected that dot. So transportation is not a nightmare anymore for myself, at least.
Yeah, that's definitely good to hear. So what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about entering the cannabis space?
Ooh, you have to enjoy what you're about to do, because you will go through some really big highs and you will go through some really big lows, and you really just have to understand that, you know, I want to say it's Stephen Covey, but you have to go slow to go fast. You really just have to take your time, understand that marketplace before you get into it. I got into the marketplace and then started to learn it, which was the wrong way to do it. But my situation was probably a little different than most as they're getting into the space. And always, if you can, I was able to build a network of people around me while I was going through everything with hemp. I have, 4 good, solid contacts that I use for almost every situation that I reach out to. So, for example, here's the plug. You call somebody at a consulting business that has worked in the hemp space before, they'll help create a guide, and they're going to already go through some of those hiccups and be able to walk you through some things, so you don't make the same mistakes that, for example, I made. Don't be too proud, really.
Oh, yep. And how can somebody get a hold of Exurbia Consulting as well if they're looking, ask questions about the cannabis space and so on?
So I do have a website, exurbiaconsulting.com, and then you can reach out to me through email. I'm on Facebook. Exurbia Consulting's on Facebook. My email is William D as in dog, Shaub, SHAUB @gmail.com, and you can just reach out that way. And I also have another Exurbia contact set up on the website, and you can message me directly.
Oh, awesome. It was great having you on. If you have any new developments in your business, you're more than welcome to be back on.
Excellent. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And to anybody who's still listening, like, comment, and subscribe. Awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you, Henry. I really appreciate your time, sir.